What's going on, guys? Victor here, and I got a really neat how-to fillet video for you today. We got this stud red grouper right here. Check out how cool these fish look. They are absolutely beautiful, and the cool thing about these guys is every one you catch is always a little bit different because they have different markings. It's almost like they have snow on their body, and I always think this looks like a little mohawk they got on them. When you see them diving underwater and stuff, they'll put up their fins like this and they'll make themselves look real big. I'm gonna be using my favorite fillet knife that Dexter makes. This is the 6-inch stiff blade. It's curved, black handle. Love this knife. I like a smaller knife because it gives me more control and maneuverability. And I'm gonna try something different with filleting this guy today. Find that sweet spot, and I'm just gonna outline my fish, my grouper, just ever so slightly. Look at how beautifully that knife just glides. And we just want to, like I said, outline and really feel the backbone as we're doing this. And then we're just going to continue to separate, feeling for the bone constantly, lifting with our left hand up to separate. And it's not a race. You want to take your time so you do a good job and get the maximum yield possible. And our goal here is basically just to get to the backbone, which you guys will hear if you hear my knife running along there. Grouper, tunas, fish with kind of broad bodies, big heads. When you fillet one side, what will happen is you'll take the side off and then they're kind of laying there awkwardly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the outline on both sides of my fish first, which is a great way to make your life a lot easier when it comes to filleting. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Start by the head, and I'm going to take the tip of my knife and I'm just going to outline all the way down to his tail. Nice sharp knife makes it a lot easier, so you can just do one sweeping motion basically. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to separate along the bone, get in there nice and gently. Okay, now we're going to come up into the head like so. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to work down around the gill plate and down to the base of the fish. And what you guys just heard is actually the air in its gut cavity being released. We're going to break through these pin bones. They have pin bones that really hold that head meat in place, which you want to break. Now we're going to want to slide over the rib cage. See this rib cage right here? This is what you want to go over. You don't want to go through it. Okay, now you got it completely separated, as you guys see. Now the fillet is only attached by one thing. We got the top off, we got around the backbone, we got around the rib cage. And now we just got to cut right here by the gut. And there you go. You got a beautiful red grouper fillet. And if Brooke shows you guys the fillet, that's what it should look like. No meat really left on the fillet itself. You should be able to run your knife and you can hear that bone. Same thing with the rib cage. You go over it. You don't try to go through it, otherwise it's going to be left on your fillet. The reason I told you to make that outline is because now you can see that the fish isn't sitting flat anymore. It's sitting awkwardly because it's got a really big head. But now we already have this part done, so it's a lot easier to work with. What I'm going to do is flip them down around the gill plate, down here. And we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. Break through these pin bones. We're going to have to go over this rib cage, over the rib cage. Point your knife tip down when you get to the backbone as well. You guys can see this is the toughest part of the fillet, is the rib cage and the pin bones, is separating that meat without trying to miss a lot. And there we go. Let's say we did a pretty good job. Here is the second half of our red grouper. Let me show you guys the carcass. So it's always interesting to see the anatomy of the fish and the carcass, because it really gives you an idea of what you need to be doing with your knife, so you're not just poking down in there, because every fish really does have a little sweet spot, does have a little bit of a different anatomy. And I'll be telling you something, I'm definitely going to use that method where I make both outlines from now on, because fish with bigger heads, they flop over. So make those outlines first and it makes your job so much easier. Right around here, they do have quite a bit of meat in the cheek. So what you do is you just feel around with your hands. Here's his jaw, and I'm gonna start right over here where it starts to get soft. Just take the tip of my knife and just angle it down. I'm gonna work around, just like that. And your knife will pretty much tell you where you are gonna start and end too. It goes all the way over here, all the way towards the head. There we go. There's our grouper cheek meat, and if Brooke will point the camera in there. So that is what you should go by. There it is. It goes all the way up here, down here, and around. And this is hard. It might look like meat, but you hear that? That's bone. That's not meat. And you know, it's not a lot, but if you have multiple fish, it comes out to a couple of different fillets. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in the cooler. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. Find where it's soft and where our knife allows us to go into. There you go. There's your other grouper cheek. Now, I've never eaten grouper head. I have heard plenty of people do it, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm wasting it, but I am going to talk about it. So if you did want to eat the head, there is a substantial amount of meat in there, but it's not like a normal fillet where you could just throw it on the grill. You're going to have to steam this or broil it or make a soup out of it. And then this also here, the collar, the throat, this is all meat. So you could go ahead, cut around here, cut around there, separate the head from the collar. Now for skinning our grouper fillet, this is my favorite knife for skinning fish. It's longer, it's narrower, it really glides through the meat and the skin much easier than something stiff like a boning knife. So this is the 8-inch Dexter narrow fillet. My right hand, I'm right hand dominant, so I start with my left hand trailing my skinning hand the whole time. And I have a slight downwards angle when I'm doing this. And take your time, because you don't want to go through the grouper skin and leave it on your fillet. So it's almost like I'm pulling the skin back towards me with my left hand. And that's what the skin looks like. It's pretty thick. You generally don't go through it. Now we have some pesky pin bones right here. Go on one side of the pin bones. And this is right along the bloodline as well. So one side of the pin bones, and then now we're going to go on the other side of the pin bones as well. Cut that out. So we're just going to go ahead, last thing, and cut this section which has bone in it as well. It's all bone. And then this is what you're left with. A pretty good amount of meat on a grouper fillet. Just to save time, I'm not going to do the exact same thing on the other side because it's the same thing, the skinning process. Remove the pin bones, pretty generic formula. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you guys are interested in the knives I used today, these are Dexter's. They're all made in the USA. In the description box below at dexteroutdoors.com. Thank you guys once again, and I'll see you guys in that next video.